Welcome to Using Social Media as an Academic. Before proceeding with the contents of these videos, I want to make a number of caveats, right? The thing is that most of these contents were prepared at the request of the Institute for Teaching Education in the University of Oviedo, and they were used part for a workshop, an international conference on uh, educational research, and most of them were used for a training action for early career researchers in that university. I want to make that clear for two reasons. First, to acknowledge and thank the Institute and my university to push me to prepare these contents, and to recognize the fact that I'm reusing this content, and I'm going to insist on that matter a number of times during this seminar, that you have to reuse the content you're already producing for social media. In addition to that, please remember that I'm the university professor working in Spain, and this material were prepared for uh, early career researchers and academics working in Spain. So some issues that may affect you in your country or in your institution are not going to be covered probably as you would like in these contents. In addition to that, I'm not a native English speaker, so please excuse my accent, grammar, and non-idiomatic expressions. However, if you can speak or at least understand spoken Spanish, you have the Spanish version of these videos in this same channel. That said, I want to emphasize why this seminar is important and why using social media if you are an academic in this moment is crucial for you. The thing is that supposedly universities and research institutions and the research world is based on merit. That is, you are going to be rewarded based on your talent and effort, depending on the achievements you reach. That's why you are going to record, to register those achievements in very precise ways, so eventually some evaluation agency is going to weigh your curriculum, like Anubis were weighing the hearts of the dead. Depending on that weighing, you're going to go to the good place or not. Given that such weighing is unavoidable, and knowing that different achievements are going to be taken into account in different ways, the thing is that we are stripping those achievements from meaning, and they are just notches. I have so many papers, I have so many grants, I have so many graduate students, supervised thesis, and so on. In addition to that, we are on this not alone. There are other people, they are playing the same game, and the thing is that we're constantly measuring them and measuring ourselves on the basis of those stripped the achievements. And we are granting prestige. We're granting prestige to people, we're granting prestige to institutions, we're granting prestige to the venues where we and they publish. And of course, we are granting prestige to ourselves. The thing is that prestige, by its nature, requires publicity in the sense of visibility. That is, you cannot grant prestige to someone if you don't know what that person have been doing, or where they have been doing, or where they have been publishing. So the thing is that we need that data to be public. But prestige nowadays, it also requires publicity in the sense of promoting yourself, promoting institutions, conferences, journals, and so on. And for academics, for researchers, that means having a public online presence, having an academic persona. And that's why you're here and why you're listening to my recommendations in these videos or reading my slides. So now, at last, welcome to Using Social Media as an Academic. The first thing I need is to introduce myself, because very likely you don't know who I am. So why should you devote a number of hours to listening to me or my advice? This is me. As you may see, I'm not a really modest person. I'm using a picture of myself in a slide, and you're watching myself in a webcam. So who is this guy? Well, I'm Daniel Gallo Abello. I'm from Spain. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Computer Science in the University of Oviedo. My main area of research is web information retrieval, basically web search engines, semantic web, but I have devoted the last decade to studying social media. At the moment of preparing these materials, of recording this video, I've been teaching at university for more than 21 years. I have been keeping a personal website for 20 years. I have been keeping a blog, although I'm quite far from being a blogger, for 15 years. I was a very fond user of SlideShare for 15 years. I'm keeping this because it was plenty of time, and it has been very recently that I've quit the service. SlideShare was a fantastic service to share slides, like this one, but they have been acquired by Script, and the reading policies require in the end for people to subscribe. And I don't want to force people to subscribe to a service to read my contents. So I quit the service and I move the slides to other place. We will discuss that later in a specific section. In addition to that, I've been on Twitter for more than 15 years, and it's a platform I love. I've researched about Twitter, and I've researched with people I met on Twitter. Actually, virtually all my co-authors outside my own university are people that I met on Twitter, and many of them just from Twitter, only on Twitter, no actual meeting in the flesh. In addition to that, I post from time to time on YouTube, especially since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. I've been using YouTube a lot. As I said before, one of my main points is for you to reuse what you are already producing. So if you are delivering video lectures, why not recording them and publish them on a public YouTube channel, okay? And I also have Facebook and LinkedIn profiles and other platforms we are going to discuss, but honestly, I don't use them. I'm going to use myself plenty of times as an example. That doesn't mean that I consider myself the measure of all things, but I think that it may be interesting for people that are starting their careers, that are starting thinking about using social media in their professional life, to hear from someone that has been a long time in both realms. So I've been a long time teaching and researching, and I've been quite a long time having an online presence. So with age comes wisdom. So that's my point. So let's discuss what this academic persona is. I told you before that it's really important. So the thing is that you are working and actually mostly living in a world where prestige and reputation are crucial. And in order to achieve that publicity nowadays, you need that in academic persona, which is, in short, an online expression of yourself. And it's an online expression that you build from different elements. You may just choose those elements that are related to your job, or you may expose some parts of your personal issues, right? So you decide You decide what you disclose on online platforms, and from that, you build that academic persona. In other words, it's a public image you are providing to others, both academics and the public. And there are going to be so many different kinds of academic persona as people working in academia. But the thing is that there is a very nice taxonomy provided by Barbour and Marshall that I think it's a useful starting point. So they describe the following types. The first one is the uncontainable self. And this is the type that many of you already have. And you may say, but Danny, I don't have any personal website, I'm not using social media, I'm not publishing videos or slides, I'm not doing nothing at all. Anyway, you have a digital footprint that you are living because of your job, because of your research. So that digital footprint is provided by publishers, is provided by bibliographic search engines, and it's the all information that other people have to judge you as a researcher. And the huge problem with this is that you have no control at all. Okay? So by deciding that you are not having an online presence, actually you have an online presence, but it's uncontrollable. Okay? So it's unadvisable to take this decision. The following type is the formal static self. These are people that have a minimum online presence. They devote very little time and very little effort to that online presence. So basically, it's a list of achievements. I've published in these journals, I have these papers in conferences, I have uh, um, delivered these courses, etc., etc. It's just a list of achievements, and it's provided to whom it may concern. They are not thinking about any kind of public. An example of this is institutional web pages in your university, or a barely maintained LinkedIn or ORCID profile. Again, this is not advisable, but at least it's a starting point. The next type is the networked self. These are academics with an active online presence. They are usually in more than one platform. They interact with users, but they only discuss professional issues. And they work actively to grow a contact network. This is a very interesting type, and I'm going to try to convince you that you need to achieve this kind of academic persona. Based on the networked self, there are two additional types. One is the comprehensive self. It's very similar, but in addition to doing all of the things that the networked self is doing, this person is providing some glimpses on their personal matters, personal affairs. Maybe they are talking about family and friends. They disclose their opinions on politics or in other matters. And the thing is that, as a general rule, for early academic researchers, it's not a good idea to develop a comprehensive self. Also related to the networked self, we have the teaching self. It's very similar because these people are just discussing professional affairs, but unlike the networked self, they are interacting not just or not mainly with their peers, but they interact with students or with the general public, with members of the public that are interested in their research. So they have an educational or popularizing goal. This is not a bad type of academic persona. Regarding myself, which kind of academic persona I'm exposing in social media? Well, I think I'm a comprehensive self with some limits. I tend to avoid discussing friends and family issues. I tend to avoid political issues, and I seldomly provide my opinion on matters that I don't think it's going to be meaningful or useful for anyone. And what are my missions, my goals in this seminar? I have mainly two. The first one is persuading you that you cannot ignore the need to have an online presence anymore. You cannot simply have an uncontainable self. And you cannot just keep a static formal presence. You simply cannot do that anymore. The second goal is trying to push you to create one of the other three types. Much better the network self. That is someone that is actively involved in professional issues and is trying to weave a collaboration network. To that end, I'm going to provide you a number of tools, a number of recommendations. And so, which topics am I going to cover in this seminar? Well, I'm going to start describing what's social media. After that, we're going to see which types of social media we can use in academia. To that end, we're going to learn how academics are using social media right now. We're going to see that they are not using it heavily. And that's why we're going to discuss some of the reasons that maybe your colleagues in your own institution are giving you to not use social media in academia. At first, those reasons make plenty of sense, but we're going to debunk all of them. After that, we're going to provide a list of the major social media platforms that are useful for academics, and I'm going to devote plenty of time to Twitter, which, as I said, I really love, and I'm a heavy user of that platform. After that, we're going to discuss networking, how we can weave collaboration networks. We're going to discuss why it's important to disseminate our work and how we can do that. We're going to discuss visibility and getting an audience for you. After that, we're going to discuss personal branding in academia. To the end, we're going to see how we can and why we should or not involve the students in our use of social media. And we're going to close with all of the downsides, all of the problems that can arise if you eventually decide to use social media for your job. Those are the topics. I'm going to provide a very short summary of all of that. And finally, I'm going to provide you some resources to look into and some people you might find interesting to follow. In order to make these contents more useful, in the slides you can click in any of the headlines and jump directly to the corresponding section. And these videos are not, it's not a huge long video with all of the seminar, but there's going to be a short video for each of the sections. So with this, I'm finishing and closing the introductory video. Thank you.